Oh fuck, I gotta finish editing Shack Out Back. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's that Shack Out Back, ain't it?
It's that time of the week, every other Monday, where we grace your ears, we kiss your little ears with our voices, and talk about mundane, stupid things that we care about.
Like video game collecting.
Like video game collecting and preservation and a big 12,000 square foot room in your house that you keep all your Nintendo cartridges in.
Sometimes multiple rooms.
That's true.
I'm at Popeye Barker. The other guy's at Marco Danny. This is
I'm
Shack Out
at
Back.
Dan Sama.
You're
I
at Dan Sama. Sorry. This is this Shack Out Back, a book club of sorts. We're in a rural cabin in Manitoba. That's the lore. And we talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. So this week we're talking about game collecting, but as we always start off, it is the bi-weekest breakdown. What have we been doing the last 2 weeks? So why don't you start us out there, old Daniel?
You want me to start them out? Okay. Last 2 weeks, biggest thing we'll get off first. Me and Jim went camping. We took a nice picture of it on the Shack Out Back Twitter. If you're listening, I'll give you a little kiss if you follow us. It's at Shack Out Back Pod. It's also linked in both of our Twitter bios. Took a little picture, posted it on there. But we went camping and used a site called Hip Camp. Very, very good time. I had a fantastic time, Jim.
We ate good food. We cut up wood. Me and Dan literally just sat and talked for hours and hours and hours. And that's all we did we were excessively cold while we were sleeping. It was good.
It was so cold. We talked a lot about Family Guy. We talked a lot about AVGN. We talked a lot about Christian.
We took a lot about a dog with a comically sized pat of butter on his head.
Yes, we did. Me and Jim kept joking. But Jim, you saw the little picture I posted, right, with the little handprints on my car?
Yeah, you had a trash
can that climbed on your car. Some raccoon must have been crawling on my car. It was the weirdest little thing. There's little handprints on the back of my car. A little Rumpelstiltskin-esque creature climbed on the back of my car.
A real-life goblin from those videos.
A real-life goblin, HD. Other than that, Jimbo, I have started rewatching Gurren Lagann. Very, very excited to do that. I'm like quarter of the way through it, maybe a third of the way through it. I started and finished both Ape Out and Nightmare of Decay. Ape Out, super cool game.
What is Ape Out? Is Ape Out the one where you're like running and you can only see a certain like cone of vision?
Ape Out is top down. It's like usually neon orange and then some other colors. It was published by Devolver Digital, and it's a game where you are an ape and you have to get out. You gotta like push people against walls and make them explode in blood and like grab them and throw them. Very cool little game, very fun. It's a couple hours long. And Nightmare of Decay was extremely good. Buy that right now. It's like $5.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, but our opinions are the same. It's amazing, and it's only like 3 hours, and it's like $4. So go fucking buy it.
Super duper good. I also watched Matrix Resurrections.
And how'd you like that? How'd you like that tongue-in-cheek Matrix film there, Dan?
I liked it. It was good. I had a good time with it. It was stupid and silly and goofy, and it didn't take itself too seriously. But are they going to make like a Matrix Resurrections 2?
I don't know. Probably.
How do you title the movies?
I don't know.
You just keep titling them other things?
Hollywood's fucking stupid, Dan.
Ain't that the truth? Otherwise, I've been listening to a lot of music, a lot of new stuff. I've been listening to a band called Man Wolves a lot, and a band called Summer Suns, and my track record with music is quite good, so both of those bands get my seal of approval.
You don't have the amazing track record. You still like Weezer.
I like Weezer. Jim likes Weezer too, and he's just too scared to admit it.
No, he doesn't. Is that it, Dan, for your bi-weekest breakdown?
That's all, I do believe. Me and Jim went to the mall yesterday. We went to our local mall, and I got myself some manga. I got the Junji Ito book. And
he went for pants and he got manga, if you can believe it, listeners.
Yeah, Jim, do you want to know the best part? I was supposed to only get that one manga yesterday, and then it was my 1-year anniversary today, and I got a $25 gift card from Amazon, and I bought the second manga that I had to choose yesterday, so now I got both of them. Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Everything's coming up Dan House. Yeah, I bought an undershirt and Dan bought pants, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll just dip into Kohl's. I'll just dip into Kohl's. And he went in there and bought stuff. But me, bi-weekly breakdown time. Let me pull up my notes here. So me and you have continued to play Divinity 2.
Yes.
We're finally finished the first act. I actually did some build research. I have my builds. I have a cork board above my desk, and I have a little page with all my build stuff
He's
posted
sketching
on it.
all the notes out. He's figuring out what to upgrade.
I'm a tactile fella. I like writing notes out. I watched a Netflix movie called Old Henry, starring Tim Blake Nelson. It was pretty damn good.
Hearing that.
You should watch it.
Yeah.
I think that it's like a very simplistic Western, but a nice, realistic, gritty one. It's up my alley. I watched a movie called Gut, and I had got the Blu-ray for Gut like 7 months ago or something. It's a short, not short. It's like a very low budget film about
Jim's
two guys.
got to be careful about what he says because, from what I understand, it's a vile movie.
It's about two guys who find basically snuff films about dudes sticking their fingers in ladies' guts, and then they get off on it, and then everyone dies at the end. It's great. It was like a low budget movie that kept my attention the whole time because it was just so weird. So you can look that up. Gut. I'm sure you won't find it on the internet. I also watched What Women Want with my roommates. It's a Mel Gibson film about a chauvinistic pig who gets smacked in the head and falls in a bathtub and then can literally hear women's thoughts. It's a very yikes of its time film. There's a lot of stuff in it that I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Really?
Yeah. It was good though. I thought it was funny. I also watched The Lodge, which is a horror film about two kids and a woman stuck in a lodge over the winter, and it was fucking horrific. And I'd recommend that to everyone to see who can stand horror, because I watched it with Jaden and we both wanted to fucking puke.
Really? Netflix?
Yep. No, it was on Amazon Prime, I think.
The Lodge. I'm gonna write that down. I'll have to watch that.
I also watched the first season of The Terror, which is
yeah, you were telling me.
It's a show about it's based on a book. It's about some people who were on the HMS Terror who got lost finding the Northwest Passage, and most of the stuff in the show is historically accurate, but there's one part that definitely isn't. But that was extremely good. It's also extremely sad, so don't watch that if you're prone to be affected by what you're watching. I was just jerking around and I watched a little bit of Monk because I was thinking about Tony Shalhoub from Marvelous Miss Maisel, so I watched a little bit of his show called Monk, where he just plays a detective. It's a very quirky and weird film. It's back when they were like, let's make murdering shows fun, and they do fun murders. It's very weird. I also read The Time Machine, which is one of my favorite books again. And then I got me a pair of headphones, Dan. Was
that recent? That was only in the last 2 weeks. Hey, Jim talks about these goddamn headphones so much, you'd think he was born with them.
My sister bought me some headphones for my birthday, and they're Koss Porta Pros. They're from the 80s. They haven't changed the design in 30 years. Very light, very nice sounding headphones. I use them on walks. I use them on, they're my primary computer headphones now because they're nice and light, and I can play my New Vegas and not be too distracted with the mod. And and then what's the last thing I did? Let me find this on the list. We got some fan recommends this week. We get some recommendations.
I almost forgot. I'm so sorry, person who recommended this on Twitter. I'm very sorry. I was thinking about this on my drive home. I was like, I cannot forget.
They sent us a DM that said, look at this game. It'll be freaking great. Don't look up anything about it, and I did, and I just kind of looked at the Steam page, but
it's my wish list. Yeah,
it's on my wish list. Yeah, I'm gonna look at that right now.
Lost in Vivo is what it's called.
Lost in Vivo. It's a very cool game. It's made by the same people who made Spooky's House of Jump Scares, I think. It looks very creepy, crawly. I'm definitely gonna get that when it goes on sale.
I will say 100% you'll hear more about that. It's probably, from what I understand about it, too much of a small game to be an entire episode, but probably like an indie horror game type of episode. We will definitely play it and bring it up.
We can get the new Dread X or something, and then play
that's
Lost
a good idea.
in Vivo or something, and do a little compilation episode. That'd be fun.
Yeah, it's
just
a smart
talk
idea.
about what makes us scary. What makes us scary? What makes us scared?
Well, Jim, I'd say let's get into the video games at hand.
Yes.
Let's dive into my Nintendo DS cartridge swimming pool.
I've tortured Dan this week, listeners. I've tortured him, where I have this on my mind. Every once in a while, I'll go on YouTube and I'll be, sedentary, and I'm sitting with my underwear on in my bed. I don't want to get up or do anything, and I'm like, let me just type in Game Room Tour into YouTube and watch Sort by New, and you see the most depraved fucking individuals zooming in far too far into their fucking copy of Super Mario Strikers and saying, actually, this is one of the best games on the system. And that's what I make Dan watch for like an entire 2 weeks. So what do you, I don't know how to start this actually.
Let's get into it. I will just say game collecting, everyone knows it's mostly with console gamers just because PC stuff is so, not to say there isn't anyone that collects big box PC games, because 100% that's a huge niche. But PC gaming is more so looked at as being perfectly fine to have a digital library. If someone says they have a PS5 and then you say, what games do you have? Can I see them? And then they say, it's all digital. You'd be like, that's a little bit weird. It just feels a little bit different for whatever reason.
I do think it's weird that the newest PlayStation, Xbox One consoles, or Xbox, whatever the fuck it's called, Xbox Series XXX, like, you can get models without disc drives.
Without the disc drive, it just looks not right. Yeah. It just looks weird. And yeah, I don't know, it's a bit odd. But yeah, game collecting is basically, we're going to be talking about the people who have like shelves and shelves of all the preserved games from all the console generations, and the arcade cabinets and the consoles and the TVs set up.
The shit and tat, Dan. The shit and
stuff
tat
everywhere. We're not talking about your buddy Eric who has Halo 1, 2, and 3 on his shelf. We're talking about your buddy Clayton who has every single copy of every NES game ever under his bed and all along his walls, and every Funko Pop under his mattress.
I think that we've talked about in the past that we find some things extremely tacky and unappealing to us.
Yes,
you know, I'm going to make a concession here that I think Funko Pops are fucking stupid. But I was at my last job and there was an older gentleman there and he was a nice guy. He's like, oh yeah, Jim, I collect Funko Pops. And I'm like, I hate Funko Pops. But I'm like, you know what? Do you have a picture? And he showed me, and he had like them all boxed, them all up. I'm like in a shelf, very nice.
Mouth agape, pointing at the wall.
He was pogging. He did his LinkedIn picture up against the Funko Pop. But no, like he took like some kind of semblance of pride in arranging things nicely and organizing things nicely. And that's something I can appreciate. Like on my desk, I have like little knick-knack things. I don't have them up around my room and stuff because I think that's tacky. But I have like my favorite Pokemon, a little Scyther guy under my monitor. Same thing.
He's got his Winston figurine.
No, I have my little Psyduck Patrick gave me for my birthday one year, and then I have one amiibo. I have King K. Rool because he looks so fucking stupid. And that's all I have on my desk. I don't have like 6 million amiibos boxed tacked to the wall and say, I'm going to sell these when I'm 807 for $1 billion.
If we're going to do that, this is what I have on my desk. I have my HG Leo Gunpla that I custom painted, yellow and white with an airbrush. I have my 3D printed Deep Rock mug. And then I have a little ceramic Japanese cat facing the northeast corner of my apartment that symbolizes luck in love. That's what I have.
I have other stuff on my desk. I have like hand sanitizer. I have the spin down counter you gave me and like little hand exercisers and stuff. But I think that me and you do 90% of our gaming now on PC. You've done it for a while, but I've definitely transitioned over to PC gaming. And I've actually made like, I'm renting a room for my friends, so I have my room, and then I have like a lot of stuff in the living room that's just like displayed and stuff under the TV. Yeah. But I remembered I wasn't.
Yeah, you have a little game. You have a little game collection down there.
I have no, I'm not downstairs. I have it right in my room. I have like all of my SD consoles and all of my HD consoles in here. I have the HD consoles, a little rack, and it looks like I have a second monitor on my desk. But I have a little TV and everything hooked to that just because I find it more convenient to sit here at my desk that I play video games on and play that too. I might change my mind later on, but that's definitely where we're coming in from. And in my also right beside my desk, you can hear it. I have my big fat 27-inch Trinitron that I will definitely stick in my living room when I move out of here, and all my SD consoles and stuff. So
Jim gets radioactive waves shooting out from that TV into his head.
Blasted by gamma rays on my bed playing Donkey Kong Country 2.
But yeah, we're coming at this from a point of, we definitely have our collections. I collect quite a lot of physical manga. And I have a board game collection, but it's not absolutely huge. Yeah, Jim's a pretty big movie buff.
I have 800 Blu-rays
and
DVDs.
Neither of us are really video game collectors. I would not call myself a video game collector by any stretch of the imagination.
I definitely have. I have one little shelf that I literally picked out of the garbage. A little like it was probably like a VHS like shelf that people put their tapes on. It has like 4 shelves on it, and I have like PS2, PS3. PS2, yeah, PS4, PS1, Xbox, Wii, all that stuff, but it fits on 4 shelves. Like, I have a very curated collection. Like, I don't have stuff that I'm not going to play, that I just have to have. Same. That's one of my favorite quotes that I pulled up. I had notes this week. I was watching some fucking game reviewers, random ones, because you can find a million of them on YouTube.
Spit out some big names that they'd recognize of people we were kind of looking at.
So I told you to watch
Metal Jesus
Rocks,
we looked
which
at his.
you did not.
I did.
CJR. Oh, you didn't like it. That's what I meant.
Yes.
CJR. He's a Canadian guy. He does collection videos. I told you to watch My Life in Gaming. They're more about like hardware stuff. Retro RGB. He's more about hardware stuff. But I literally just told you just type in.
I watched a lot of big and smaller new upload ones, and there is a difference between the dudes who you can tell. I'll let Jim explain. Jim explained it well a couple days ago. He said there's a couple different types of people who collect games.
This is the big thing. I think we were talking about it a lot when we went camping, but I kind of put it into a few different camps of like,
yes,
there's the people who have display collections. I would say Metal Jesus Rocks has a display collection. Like this, here's how you can tell is if you look at a shelf and a bunch of games are like horizontal, like stacked on top of one another. Like that's,
you can't pull them out.
That's not easy to pull out and play.
No. It's for looking at. It's for oogling and touching.
The My Life in Gaming guys definitely are more tech focused, but they have usable collections. They have like a lot of stuff. They have big fucking collections, but they have everything vertical, everything organized very well, and it takes up a lot of space. They have lots of shelves and stuff, but it's all accessible, all usable, everything's hooked up. And then you have people with like curated collections, and I definitely put myself in that camp where I have some games. Everything conveniently.
It's the cream of the crop.
Yeah, everything conveniently hooked up and convenient. Like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna play like Killzone 2 at some point. Let me have that and plug it in. Yeah, like just stuff that's fun that I'm actually gonna use. But yeah, I think that me and you have a pretty negative view of people who have display collections.
I think yeah. So I am at a camp. How do I word this nicely? I don't want to be too mean. Metal Jesus Rocks collection and people like that. His collection square footage is larger than my living space. And that is apartment. Just his game collection. It is very cool to look at, sure. I don't find it, but I get how you would look at it. Very cool to look at, lots of stuff to ogle at.
There is a lot of thought into his display.
Yes.
I looked at his video of like the newest update or whatever, and there's definitely a lot of thought that went behind setting that stuff up.
But like, you're not sitting down and playing 98% of those games.
I would say collections like that are rather egregious. Like,
it's kind of crazy.
I think at the point where you sacrifice an entire room to a
multiple rooms,
that it's like, well, he has multiple rooms. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Wild.
But when you sacrifice it's not. I mean, people you don't have to call it a sacrifice, but like. Even people who have, like, this is the thing. I remember we talking about during the, like, what we're doing in 2022, looking into moving and stuff. You were saying, like, you wanted a basement with, like, a gaming setup and a bar and stuff. Like, I think that's, like, wasted space. Like, I think that's not enough variation to the space you're using for it to be, like, for me to be all right with that. Like, if
Jim
I live
says,
like
I want everywhere to have a toilet so it's usable space. I can have a toilet everywhere.
You know, when I set up my gaming setup, and this is what I like too, when I made some notes about the gaming setups that I like. What I like, accessible games and accessories, like everything put away nicely and organized and stuff.
You grab them and use them. You don't have to switch through 18 stations on your TV and plug in 8 things.
Either a dual display setup, which is what I usually have. I have my, flat screen next to my CRT on 2 different, like, same height TV stands right next to each other so I can have both of them, or one big flat screen with like a retro setup like an OSSC or a retro tank. No faff. I don't like faff. I don't like boxes. I don't like that fucking shit.
Oh, we were talking about stupid. The boxes. Why do you think that is such a big aspect of collecting games, keeping the boxes of the systems and the controllers?
I'm not even talking about like boxed N64 collection, boxed Game Boy collection, stuff like that. That's okay. If you want to just like Game Boy that much, you want to display that shit, that's okay with me. But having like an empty, like a closet full of empty boxes.
Like, a lot of these videos had stuff like that. They were like, yeah, here's my 2 closets. Well, what's in there? It's my Gears of War mug box and my this box and my like SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom hat box. And it's just boxes. I don't get why that's a big aspect of it.
I also like all consoles you're actually going to use hooked up. And also like modern considerations too, because we're going to talk about emulating and stuff later. But there's also flash readers where you can flash like ROMs onto like a cart that you can plug into your game console. So you have every game ever made for the console, but the console will run it perfectly, not like a computer won't.
No, I actually didn't know that. That's cool.
Good use of space, lots of seats and storage, can easily move around. That's a thing. You need to be able to turn around and like have room to do stuff. Tasteful art, cable management, it's just like a desk, just like a computer. Good cable management is always key. And then evidence of trading, selling. Yeah, like no like 16 different versions of an N64. Like I don't like that stuff.
This is my 17 different versions of Twilight Princess. Each one is slightly printed off center.
And, you know, I have 2 copies of Pokemon Red. I have a red English version and a red Japanese version because it was like $10. But, you know, that's like the size of a fucking piece of nothing. That's like nothing. It's not even big. So, I mean, that. And then what I'm really thinking about moving on later, too, is like a PC TV setups. Like having a gaming PC set up to your TV. I think that,
I've toyed around with that idea a lot. Very cool idea.
These consoles are getting less and less user friendly and less like consumer minded. So I think that having your own personal PC hooked up to like a TV like probably would be the way for me to go in the future at least.
Yeah.
But that's some of the stuff I like about these gaming setups. What's the stuff you hate about them, Dan?
Some of the stuff I hate about them. I will say, we spoke about it earlier, Funko Pops, that's tied into all this. Pretty much anyone that has these game collections inevitably will have Funko Pops somewhere.
I don't think it's just Funko Pops either. It's like
little knickknacks.
It's like Dorbs and like glasses and like amiibos and stuff. Like,
yeah.
Don't tell me that you like every single amiibo character.
Yeah, literally.
Like that's not true. Don't you fucking lie to me.
I will say Funko Pops, I don't like how they look in the slightest. I think they look very corporate and soulless.
And stupid.
But I will say, I get the appeal. You can pretty much find any, even middlingly popular franchise and immediately get a bunch of figurines and box memorabilia of that franchise. I get the appeal, but I think, do I really want to have the worst thing from a franchise on my wall?
Well,
no.
That's the thing too, right? Is that I have one collector's edition in my entire collection. And guess what game it is? It's Fallout New Vegas, my favorite game that's ever been made. Yeah.
I have a single piece like that too, and it's the Dishonored Corvo mask. That is the only piece
Those
of
are like
I have like
our
that.
Games. Dan replays that game a shitload, and I'm replaying Fallout New Vegas right now.
Yeah. This is the thing it feels like. Everything in these game collections I've seen, they always have a bunch of statues and a bunch of like collector's edition cases and all this stuff. But it's like, do you give a shit about that? Or is it just the thing? Do you just like having the thing of the game? Like, I have the Cyberpunk figures and stuff, and it's like, they're not really? Why? Like, why? Do you really like it or something? And then they're like, yeah, not really.
Here's a quote that I got when I was watching a video today, and it was a guy who pulled out a Dreamcast RF adapter, which is something you will never, ever, ever need.
What would you even use that
And
for?
It was sealed. And he said,
Jesus,
I don't have a reason to have it. I have it just to have it.
That's a lot of what this is. And no hating on that. People love having collections.
I'm not going to tell you that guy's name, but like that is just so against my fucking core being.
Yeah. I have become a lot more in the past couple of years. I am by no means a minimalist. Jim is not a minimalist either. But I do not like to have stuff anymore. Like, if I get a board game I don't like, it's pretty much going out, and I'm going to get one that I do like, because I don't want shit I'm not going to have or use or like.
Here's the thing, is I always aspired to have less and less stuff, and I've definitely cut out a lot of the faff and shit I had when I had to move. But I'm never, like, I don't think that tiny house living and very minimalist living is, like, realistic, and you can
I don't think it's obtainable for a lot of people.
You could find stories of people who do extreme minimalism and then just flip-flop back after like a few years,
and they'll hit it even worse. I've heard stories like that.
But I think a lot of this stuff, especially with video game collecting, is the opposite, where it's just like you have all this shit just to like fill this empty void in your heart that you're like, I grew up with Nintendo and I want to get every little bit of Nintendo, and you know what? I feel like we can come across as judgy a lot of the times when we're talking about some of this stuff. And if you like this stuff that much, that's totally fine to me.
It's your money. Do whatever the fuck you want with it. I don't care.
But like, if you have 17 different figures of Mario like posted around the room, like I think that's excessive. I think you pick your favorite Mario statue and then have that like on your desk or holding your coffee cup or something. Like I feel like these are the kids who, I think like some of these guys and girls are like people who are like grew up maybe without a lot of stuff, or their parents didn't like the stuff they had, or maybe their parents gave them a lot of money to buy shit. They just never stopped. But it's definitely filling some kind of like need in their life that I don't have.
That was definitely what I got from the feeling of my father. It feels like my dad maybe didn't grow up with a lot of these toys and stuff, and now he has money to, so he buys anything that he wants because it's like toys that he would have wanted as a kid. It's the same type of idea. I mean, he has the money to spend whatever the fuck money you want. I do not care. Your financials, not mine. But a lot of them never see the light of day, or I'll see them once and then it's like they disappear into the void between realms. They stop existing.
I did a big culling, like I think 4 years ago now, of my movie collection, because I was like, what movies am I actually gonna watch? Like, what movies did I enjoy enough or thought were weird enough to actually watch? And I think I got rid of like 30-40 movies at one point, like maybe some outdated DVDs and some full screen DVDs and stuff I didn't want anymore. But a lot of it was like, when am I gonna watch, analyze this and analyze that again? How would I just sell that for like $1? Because that's more useful to me than having that on my shelf.
The singular dollar. But yeah, it's hard to talk about these things without sounding judgy. But at the end of the day, I will say, do whatever you want. It's your money, your life. If you truly want to sit around 18 Marios staring at you while you play Mario 18 on your emulator, you do that. It's fine.
I wanted to tell a story too, where I don't think people understand the differentiations between these things too. Because I remember I had my friend Steven over, and this is probably when I was 18 or 19. And he came over and he was going through my movies and stuff. And he's like, and then we went to the game store. We went to Game Cycle. And he was like, Jim, why don't you buy this, 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 this? I'm like, why would I want that? He's like, well, you want to have the biggest collection, right? You want to have the biggest amount of stuff. And I'm like, no, like, why would I want all of this fucking shit I'm never going to watch?
Stuff you don't even care. Games you don't give a shit about. Stuff you don't care, yeah.
Like the example from last week, why would I want Cop Out on DVD? I'm never going to watch Cop Out. Like, fuck you. I hate Bruce Willis. I think I wanted to talk about some of the good stuff that I liked in some of these games.
What do you like? When you see this thing, what titillates you in a game collection tour?
Besides the stuff I've already talked about like, you know, cable management and some things like that. Redundancy, I don't like it, and I'll tell you a story. I bought a Super Game Boy, which is like basically a Super Nintendo cartridge that has a Game Boy inside so you can play stuff on your TV. And then it didn't run well, so I ordered from Japan the Super Game Boy 2, which had like a link cable port and some Game Boy Color stuff, I think. And guess what I did with the Super Game Boy? I fucking sold it. I didn't keep it on my shelf. I fucking sold it because it was redundant. I don't like people who have like 16 versions of the same thing. I think I've said that before, but I'm going to say that again. Dust. I like when people dust. When I'm watching,
oh my god!
When I'm watching a game room tour and there's fucking dust.
All I think about
coating everything when he zooms in, and black shelves too. People buy those black calyxes and like dump games on top of them, and it looks like shit because dust will pile in them like no tomorrow.
I will say that was something I noticed with a couple of these tours. It would be like, here's my shelf of my 52 Xbox One controllers and my PS4 controllers, and I know they dusted right before shooting this video, but holy shit, I can't imagine needing to dust those every week or they'd look so gross.
Well, here's a tip, right? And this is a tip I got from My Life in Gaming, is that I have, you know, a bunch of SD consoles. I have N64, SNES, Nintendo, PS2, Genesis, all that shit. And when I don't use the controllers, I keep them in Ziploc bags in a drawer, so they don't get covered in dust. What the problem with some of these game tours is that they're like, yeah, let me display all my Xbox 360 controllers, and then they leave them up there for 9 months, and they get covered in
bad in a
grime.
week.
Yeah,
they would look gross in a week. I have a single Xbox One controller I use for like some games on my PC, and I need to dust that shit like every other week, or it looks so gross.
I keep a super pad at my desk. I just give it a wipe with my t-shirt every week or so too, because it gets
what
gross
else
just sitting on my desk.
Do you find interesting, Jim? What activates your almonds?
I like when I see some of this new tech and the stuff that I use. Like, there's a lot of new companies like raising up out of the ground to deal with some of these problems that retro gamers, I don't like saying gamers, but retro people like doing. Good companies are like HD Retrovision. They make component cables which tap into the RGB signal of consoles. That's what I have in my setup. Also, people make SCART cables into RGB. Retro Tank makes adapters, like HDMI adapters. You just plug in your old console, HDMI comes out. Really, really simple. Also, custom game cases for like Game Boy games and stuff. Instead of having,
I like how those look. Those look very nice to me.
Yeah, and then rose-colored gaming stuff, like little like if you have a display shelf of like controllers or something, like special Wiimotes or something, you can get little stands for them that show them up nicely, and they're easily able to pull off and dust. They're not sitting in a huge fucking pile on a shelf. Just like little things like that. I like when people put forethought into their setup.
They don't just chuck every controller they have on a Walmart shelf they bought and let them rot.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these problems are similar between different genres of collecting things too. Like, I remember there's big like DVD collections too. You can look it up and put in like movie collections instead of game room tour, and you'll see guys with like huge basements full of Blu-rays and DVDs and different shit. And you know, I definitely have more movies and shit than I do game consoles. And I have a lot of weird things. Like, I've talked about having laser discs, and I have some VHS tapes and stuff that I have my VHS player and my laserdisc player hooked up to my TV. But that's all, you know, ready to go. And I'm actually getting stuff that I want to watch. Like, I'm getting like old Marx Brothers movies that I'm actually going to throw in and watch and stuff. When I see these huge collections of like thousands and thousands and thousands of movies, and I'm like, bro, like, are you actually going to watch those? Like, I actually keep track of the movies that I watch, and I'm trying to go through those and then rewatch some stuff. Like, it feels like people just do this shit. And the same thing with books too. Like, if you look up like personal library on YouTube,
personal libraries are weird to me. Like, books take up a lot of space.
They do. Like, if you look up at, like, people have an entire room in their house, like an entire bedroom, that's just shelving for books.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
And, you know, I have an English degree. I've read a lot of books, and these people have, like, wall-to-wall, like, floor-to-ceiling shelves full of books, and I've read some of them, and a lot of them, like, I look at them, I'm like, wow, those are just, like, shitty like romance novels and stuff that just have hardcovers and look nice. Like, I read stupid shit. I'm not shaming anyone who also reads stupid shit, but like,
do you need them in a hardcover? Yeah,
an entire shelf full of that stuff. Like, you actually need that?
Yeah, and that's why I love having a Kindle. I have so many books on my Kindle, and it takes up no space, and the battery lasts forever. And I do get why people don't like Kindles. 100% I do. Flipping a book feels good. I get it.
I have both, just because, you know, I like books because I can buy them, I can look at them, I can give them to my friend. That's a big thing, right? I'm like, hey, you want this book? And I'll just give it to him, or I'll give books away for Christmas and stuff that I've already read. Like, books are very transient to me. Unlike video games or movies, they're less transient to me. But I also like, you know, having the Kindle up my phone. And when I worked at that other job before, I read like 4,000 plus pages books on my breaks. So I just pull out my phone and flip through the pages really quick. Like, nice. That's super convenient. And I can totally see why people do that.
Those people with large book collections, they are aware that book lice are a thing, right?
That you get infestations of bugs.
You can get books, Cassie had a book one time that she got from her mother, and she was reading it in bed, and she was like, what is this? And it was like a translucent little bug the size of like the pin prick, like the smallest little thing. You couldn't ever see it unless it was hitting by light, which is, we were reading right next to a lamp. And I looked at it and I was like, that's like a little bug. That's weird. And we looked it up, and it was like, I forget what the name exactly was, but it was like book lice or book mites, and they just kind of eat paper eventually. Yep. And it's like, they do know that, right? Like
I have old books. Like, I've picked up old books at bookstores before and literally had louse like fall out of the pages as I'm fucking flipping through them.
I don't know. Those libraries are another thing entirely. I just think it's crazy. You gotta like books a lot. Like, you gotta like book preservation.
Same thing with this too, is that you gotta like fucking Mario a lot to have 17 fucking figures of them in your place.
If you're a video game collector, if you're Metal Jesus Rocks, you're not waking up one day and going, you know what? I don't think I want this stuff anymore, because that stuff is the pillar of your home. If you take away your copies of Mario, your living room will fall.
That's literally the thing. Like, I think that's a big thing to do with, like cloud gaming and buying digital copies and stuff on Steam and PS4 and stuff. Is that like, if one day you're like, this isn't my vibe anymore. You don't have to deal with selling all that stuff or getting rid of stuff.
Close Steam.
You just close Steam and you're done. Like that's.
Yeah. And then when I want to replay them in the future, if I go, you know what, I'm ready to get back into gaming. I don't have to go
again. Yeah.
I sold Zelda. Time to buy it back at 8 times the cost.
We also haven't talked about like region locking that happens with video games too.
Let's move into that. Let's talk about emulation and region locking and why people do things like this.
So region locking happens for video games and movies, physical media, and I think it's fucking stupid. I fucking hate it. It's awful. It's an awful fucking practice, and they do it anyway.
Describe what region locking is, because I bet a lot of people don't really know what region locking is, especially with movies, because I didn't up until recently.
So basically, if you buy a movie in the UK from like an HMV and come here to Canada and put it into your fucking PS4, won't work.
I don't get why. Like, what would be the reason?
It's either to track markets or to curb resale value, or, it's all that shit. And there are...
I remember I had it with an anime thing that I bought. Like, I looked it up and I was like, why isn't this working? And it's like, they're coded into, like, regions 1 and 2 are North America, and, like, 5 and 6 are really weird, and Russia and Europe and shit, and it's just odd.
I don't think it happens for CDs, but definitely everything, not music stuff, but definitely for all that fit, like video games and
weird
stuff. And, sometimes the region locking is weird on, like, between countries too, because my Super Game Boy 2, I just talked about it, that's a Japanese cartridge, only came out in Japan. And the way they region locked for Super Nintendo is they literally put 2 tabs inside of the North American Super Nintendo where you couldn't put the game down. So you just I literally grabbed a pair of needle-nose pliers and pulled the tabs out, and now I can play Japanese games.
Actually, that's it.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, I truly don't get why. It must be for tracking market. Yeah, like, I wouldn't get the reason. Is the hardware different?
Sometimes the hardware is different because they use different voltages for different countries, like they have a different voltage rating. But if you have a regular console, you can just swap in a different power supply and then it's fine. And most like the PS4 or PS5 are all like multi-voltage. Like they don't make a different version of the fucking console.
It's very, very, very weird because it's pretty much NTSC, which is like North America and everything. Mm-hmm. PAL is European, correct? Mm-hmm. And then it's just kind of like JP. That's the other big one. Those 3 is what you'll usually see.
I think there's different regions for Africa and out in Asia and stuff. But yeah, that's the ones. That's like the used market in North America that you're buying from is those 3 places. But yeah, it's weird. Like Game Boy games are all interchangeable. But, I don't think N64s are. They might be. I know GameCubes aren't. You have to buy a Japanese GameCube.
I do know GameCubes aren't. I don't think N64s are interchangeable. I'm pretty sure there's different varieties for all of them.
It might be the cartridge versus like the readable like media, like discs and stuff. Maybe they can code it onto that and not onto cartridges or something. But yeah, that's a big thing. And you'll find game room tours of like people who are like, yep, I moved from Australia and I sold literally everything when I moved to the US. So I could buy everything again. God. Like that's crazy. That's crazy shit.
Do you think all of this is just because, like, are game rooms, do you think, as big as they are in North America as they are in, like, European countries and stuff? Or do you think it's mostly just the North American mindset of, like, own everything, buy everything, gotta get the new stuff, gotta get the old stuff, gotta have it all?
I think it's big in Japan and some Asian regions. Yeah. I think it's big in, like, South America. I know Brazil has a big,
really
video game collecting thing. I know it's big in the UK, but I'm not sure about other. Big in Australia, but I'm not sure about other regions.
North America, it just feels like it's different. Like, the things that I saw, there was that dude I was telling you about that recreated in his home. He recreated his childhood arcade. Like, I'm talking 92 arcade cabinets in his basement.
Yeah, I don't understand arcades.
That's crazy.
I think that my general rule applies where if, like, you like a game a lot, like, if you are a huge Miss Pac-Man fan, or you're a huge Killer Instinct fan, or a huge Street Fighter fan, have that arcade cabinet. That's totally okay. I know LGR has one. He has the Space Command or whatever where you shoot the missiles coming in. Like, that's totally okay. Have one. Or have like one that's like a multi, you have a multi like
an emulated type of thing.
You have like a
game cabinet. Yeah,
you have like a RetroPie setup or
very
something
cool.
like that. Yeah, you can have one of those. But I really, really, really don't fucking get having like 16 different fucking arcade setups in your house.
Like, arcades kind of combine everything we've not liked so far. They're a single game. They're huge. Game. They take up so much power and they break so easily. It's like if you have arcades, you're a different type of collector altogether. You need to know how to fiddle with it. You need to know how to change it. You're not buying an arcade cabinet not knowing how to fix it or not wanting to try to fix it.
That is one of the other things I like in video game collecting and game stuff is that it like people who mod and know how to mod, people who know how to like clean the cartridges, people know how to fix shit. Like, that's a big thing. If you're not doing that and you're a quote unquote epic video game collector, like you are doing it wrong. If you're taking a console into somewhere to get fixed when it's like literally just like, I literally didn't want an NES. I just got it so I could play Duck Hunt and shooting games with my dad, and I knew that the top loading NESs fucking suck. Or the side loading NESs fucking suck.
Always break. I fixed those as well.
I ripped it open and I pulled the pin you're supposed to pull to stop the lockout, and like that took like 3 seconds. I imagine if I took that into Game Cycle or something and they had to like keep it and fix it, they probably charged me like $30.
God damn. Yeah.
Like, you're just losing money if you're not, trading stuff in. Like, I trade in shit all the time for like in-store credit or to trade people on Kijiji and stuff. Like, I do that shit all the time. If I have something that I don't want and it's worth money and it's a video game thing, some fucking guy is going to buy it.
Yeah, 100%. I will say, let's probably move on to the last topic. Let's discuss some delicious emulation. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's the way to go. It's the way to preserve video games. I don't prefer it. I definitely don't prefer it. I prefer, I like the big stupid setup. I like using old consoles and stuff, but for convenience sake and to discover games that you really like emulation 150%.
Yeah, like I don't emulate a ton of NES and SNES games and stuff. I have in the past. What system is the Minish Cap on? Is that the Game Boy?
Game Boy Advanced, I think.
Game Boy Advanced. I used to emulate a lot of Game Boy Advance games on my phone, and it's like the first time I ever experienced a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I still look back on the Minish Cap as being like really good. I emulate a lot of GameCube games right now. I do a lot of that stuff. That's the first time I played Luigi's Mansion, and I played with, I didn't even think about it, but I played in like 1080p with 60 FPS and amazing graphics now.
Dolphin's
and I remember
crazy good.
Dolphin's mental. Like, the Dolphin emulator's crazy. And fuck Nintendo. They're not going to charge me 79 Canadian dollars for
the other thing.
Luigi.
You can buy these games. And I bought them on the Wii. I have a bunch of games on my Wii that I bought through the store. And, I have older games on the PS4 and stuff. But fuck these companies. They don't deserve your money. Like, especially like Squaresoft releasing Final Fantasy on the phones for like $30 Like, and even the fucking Nintendo putting NES games up for like $5. Like,
that's fucked. I still
go fuck
think that's
yourself.
Crazy.
Go fuck yourself. Like, I'm not spending that money, and it is morally correct, as James Stephanie Sterling said. It is morally correct to fucking emulate Nintendo games.
It's always okay to emulate Nintendo games. I just find it crazy that you can still buy those NES games for not full price in the slightest, but $5-10 and stuff. That's wild to me.
That's why I like mom and pop shops. That's why I always talk about Game Cycle on the show. Like, if you have a local game store, fucking support it.
Support them, baby.
Yeah, that's where you're gonna get amazing fucking deals. And that's where I buy most of my movies too. Like, it's the difference between going to fucking
the flea markets have been bad in the last 10 years. They've gotten so bad because every European woman that runs her son's shop has realized that she can price Super Mario Strikers at $139.99.
That's the bad thing about the internet is people actually look this shit up and you could
exactly literally.
But here's the difference too: is that like sometimes you still get good deals because you can walk into something like this is about movies. You walk into we've talked about Cinema One, which is a stupid chain in southwestern Ontario, and you walk in and you see fucking I don't know, you see Hang 'Em High with starring Clint Eastwood, and it's on the shelf and it's like $45.
It's so crazy. I don't know how they make any money.
You might go to like Game Cycle and you look through their hundreds of Blu-rays they have, and you don't find anything you like one day. When you come in like 2 or 3 weeks later and you look through and like, oh fuck, that's fucking The Wind Rises. Let me get that. $10? This is like $45 on like online. Let me fucking get that. Like, if you want to put the work in, and here's the thing too with these video game collections, I like the guys who go in and they go to yard sales, because it's a hobby. You go to yard sales, you go to game stores, you trade,
thrift,
you
and
put stuff online,
you explore.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to have fun with your hobby. You don't waltz in with your fucking paycheck and spend it all on stupid fucking Pokemon games that are now like $250
so
box.
crazy.
Like, fuck that.
I don't even get why. Like, you can experience those games just as good, if not arguably better, on emulators. Why do you want the original one? Is it just to say you have the original one? Like, is that it? Does your enjoyment come from the fact that you can say, I'm playing it on the original system with the original cart? Stuff. Is that it?
That's definitely part of it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, I like having all these games that are physical that I can, like, yeah, I have this. Like, I can plug it in and I can play whatever I want. That's cool. But, like, the difference is that, like, I was 15 or 16, had my first job, and I had some money, and I went to the game store, and I was like, Pokemon Emerald is like $40 or $50 back then, like 12 years ago. Now it's like over $100. But I was like, let me just get my laptop and see if I can emulate it. I looked it up and had the emulator running in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference there, is $50 or 2 seconds of your time to play something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any games that I would say I have huge nostalgia for them. The fact that I would want to buy them physically and display them, I don't really have anything like that. I have really fond memories of like Ape Escape, and my brother played Legend of Dragoon a lot, and I know that one's insanely expensive now. But like, I understand why people like doing this. Like, being a quote-unquote gamer is a very easy category to fit yourself into. Yeah, there's things for everyone. You can say, I'm a gamer and I like all these action games and they really define me as a person. And I'm a gamer and I like all these simulator games and stuff. But like, my God, do not define your entire personality as just consuming video game media. Like,
that's shitty. Like,
geez,
I think
you're so much more than that. You have so many more hobbies.
You have so much more to give the world. That's another core tenet of our podcast, Shack Out Back, is that we like things that are multifaceted. We like multifaceted people. Like, I have the games that I'm nostalgic for, and the ones that are $1 billion. Like, I have Donkey Kong Country 2. I have like Pokemon Red, the games that I played when I was a little kid. And when I'm looking at retro games now, I don't look at them like, oh, this is like this, and I'm gonna get all these nostalgic feels from it. I'm looking for games that I think I'm gonna have fun with. Yeah, like, I just bought Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, I'd never played Sonic the Hedgehog. I bought it like, Sonic the Hedgehog is Waluigi? I bought it like a month ago because I had some trade-in value. I'm like, you know what? I've never fucking played this. Maybe it's fun. Let me get it and see if I like it. And I like it. It is fun. But I'm not like, let me get all the Sonic games at once.
Yeah, now Sonic let me recollect everything I don't have, pretty much. That's what I feel like a lot of this is, too. You play an older game, and then it's like, I've got to get the series now. Like, I have to get it all because I like it so much. And it's just, God damn, you can like some stuff and not like other stuff. You don't have to have it all.
Well, yeah, I played Ghosts and Goblins not for Shack Out Back.
Didn't you hate that?
No, I liked it. I liked it a lot, and I want to try some of the other games. So I'm not like going on eBay and like bidding on shit and like looking for it. I'm like, every once in a while I walk into like Game Cycle, I walk into another place that sells retro games. So I look in the cabinet, I'm like, oh yeah, it's not here today. Maybe it was too expensive anyway, but I'll just look again. Like, it's not something that like controls my fucking brain.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And then it's everything like we've ever talked about in Shack Out Back. It's like, you can like stuff, just don't let it run your life. Which
you're so much more than this. You're so much deeper than this.
Yeah. But
that's coming from a guy who used to have a Triforce shirt and never play Zelda, and I just hope no one ever asked me about it.
This comes from a guy who literally played like 500 plus hours of Pokemon Heart Gold when he was like 15. I should have been outside talking to people.
Literally, Jim could have been so much better aligned with his social status back then, but now he's ruined for his entire life because of those 500 hours.
I'm warped. I can tell you every stat and every level up moves of every Pokemon in that game, but I cannot tell you anything else. I cannot tell you what it feels like to taste beer when you're 14.
Jesus Christ. I think that's about wraps it up tonight.
Do you have any final thoughts, Dan? My final thoughts is take your hobbies in stride. What's your final thought?
I'd say, do whatever you want. End of the day, I don't give a shit what you spend your money on. I don't care what your game room looks like, but
we'll think you're
just
less
take
cool.
Take a step back from it and really think, why do I have all this stuff? Because I really do think in the future there will be limits on what things get made, because so much stuff is just plastic garbage. But
cheery thought
from me.
What are we doing for next time, Dan? I think I know what you're going to pick, but I want to hear it out of your mouth.
You want to hear it out of the horse's mouth?
Yeah, I'm not going to like it. What is it?
So me and Cass watched a movie a couple weeks ago, and we were mouth agape, screaming at the screen the whole time. It was so bad good. We're going to talk about Moonfall.
Oh, no.
It is an Amazon Prime exclusive movie. We're going to have you over and we're going to watch Moonfall, Jim. And it's amazing. Trust me.
That'll be less work. That'll be less like headache-inducing videos of CRT noise videos and guys going, so as you could see. So at least that'll be over quick. It'll be like a Band-Aid ripped off. But
you'll come over, I don't know, this weekend, next weekend, something like that. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it. Our trip's coming up, Dan. When is our trip?
Yes, we're going to Halifax next weekend. So by the time we record when we record the next episode, Jim will have died in Halifax, and I'll explain that the podcast is ending.
Because this is coming out on the 30th, and the next one will be out on the 13th. So we will have been in Halifax next time you hear from us. So we'll have lots of stories, I assume. But as always,
if you are still listening 51.5 minutes in, thank you. I'll give you a little sloppy kiss all over your head.
So as always, intro is by Lee Jackson. He's a wonderful man. Give him a follow. Play Res the Triad. All podcast art animations by CassieHDesign.com. Ryan Chen on ArtStation, and Dollbox02 on Instagram. I'm Popeye Barker, and the other guys at Dan Sama, and we'll see you next time for Moonfall. How you taking it? I'm going to take us out. I'm going to list off all of the skills I'm going to choose for my Sanguine Archer, and I'm going to fade out on that, and Divinity 2. So Ricochet, Elemental Arrowhead, Mosquito Swarm, Bull Rush, Chameleon Cloak, Raining Blood, Tailwind Retreat, Sky Shot, Infect, Pin Down. That's enough.
Good night, darling.
Goodbye, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Dan.
Good night, everybody.